Hi, I'm Coleen, and this is information about the double wedding ring and what I'm calling my infinity chain that I'm going to be making to let y'all know how long that takes to do certain things, at least for me. And I am slow. So maybe y'all get an idea of how long these things are going to take you, and you can plan. I'm a planner. I need to plan it out. For my infinity chain, I'm going to need 18 5-inch squares, and I'm doing a light and a dark color for the corners, the corner triangles. So I need 18 5-inch squares of each of my colors. I cut them with a regular ruler like this, and I fold my fabrics selvage edge to selvage edge, and then the fold over to the selvage edge, so it's easy to cut with a 12-inch ruler. This one is 12.5 inches. I also cut it with generic stripology ruler. It went a lot faster like that. I'm cutting 10 inches off my yardage, then subcutting that into 5 inches, and then subcutting those strips into 5-inch squares, then crisscross cutting. I'm getting 8 per width of fabric. So with cutting and subcutting, doing the triangles took me approximately an hour. And to stay organized, as I get them cut into triangles, I add them to my pencil block box that I have all of my cuts from my wedges in. Actually, fun fact, what took me 20 minutes with a standard ruler took me 5 minutes with a strip ruler. So if you use a strip ruler, in theory, you could do all that cutting in like 10 minutes. I think I do prefer the regular ruler for the crisscross cuts because that was just a little bit too much time spent on getting those straight with the strip ruler. As of this voiceover, January 16th, 2025, I have no affiliate links. I have no sponsors. I sound like a commercial for the strip ruler, but that's because it is so helpful. And I would have gladly spent the money for this generic one instead of a couple of my other ones. I will put a link to Amazon where I found this one. Now, when this one breaks, I fully intend to invest in a Creative Grids one. Just not right now. I'm getting 4 12-inch squares per width of fabric. That's how I did my calculations. Sorry about the lighting. My husband comes home and takes away the main light above me because he doesn't want the living room light on. So I have a lamp when he's home. This is a small table. If you've got a huge ironing table, you probably could do this so much more efficiently. This went pretty fast. The background took an hour and a half, which again with the strip ruler was so much more efficient and fast, but I had a lot of ironing to do. Yeah, I want to give you an accurate account of my time. I had gotten new yardage in the mail. It needed to be ironed. I did do that. So if you don't do that, the cutting part could probably take with a strip ruler like 10 minutes. Like I said, I'm slow. Keep that in mind with all the information I give you. The background pieces I cut, actually, when I first cut this, I cut them for the double wedding ring. So I did cut more than necessary. But for the infinity chain, you only need 24 12.5-inch squares, and then 20 approximately 6.5 by 12.5 inches for the outside rings, partial rings. You could get away with about a 5-inch probably by 12.5 inches, because I'm going to cut that away and try curved binding. As of now, that is my plan, and I'm not real happy about the width to length, so I might actually take off that top row and bottom row of half chains. I might do that. I forgot to say, when I cut these 12.5 inches by the width of the fabric, and then I cut them 12.5 inches square, I have a section left over that is, it's not always a consistent size. I think like 4 to 5 plus inches. That is what I'm using for the half at the edges and the top for the background on that. Most of them will work. I think I may have had a couple that weren't quite big enough. This is interfacing. Draw on the non-adhesive side, because when you put this template, this arc that you've drawn on top of your fabrics, it's going to be adhesive side to the right side of your fabrics, okay? So when you turn it, that adhesive will be on the back and ready to adhere to your background fabric. I would make sure you have at least a quarter, more or less, all the way around. Get something that will show up for you. I'm using this because it will show up for you. You take the paper arc, and I did time this. It took me 27 minutes to make 32. The interfacing is for the turned edge applique that we're going to be doing for these arcs. Now I'm going to go about an inch, and I'm just going to use my fingers. See here, I'm just using my fingers and making sure I'm still, that was too close up there. I should have left a little more room. The one that's too close is actually still fine, because when we cut these out, we're going to just have an eighth minimum, quarter maximum inch around them, and the seam allowance is already in the arc. And make sure you're going next to it, not away from it. In case you're new, I'm going to quickly explain. This arc that I'm using is one that I designed, and I have a paper template that's free in the Google Doc, but it was not the right curve for the double wedding ring, so I didn't want to do the double wedding ring with it. The Quilt in a Day makes an acrylic arc that will work with my wedges. In fact, that's what I designed the wedges to work with. So if you've got a Quilt in the Day wedge, or you want to get one, they have them on Amazon, I think, still. You could do that, and this would still work. Coleen 911 FF Featherweight. Snazzy Monkey on Etsy is where you can find 3D printed versions of the wedges, and I don't get anything from that. That's all him. I gave him the specs. I said, if people want it, I'm going to send them your way. That gets me nothing. The paper ones are free. You could make your own. This acrylic one, my husband and I cut. I prepped these like 3 years ago for a different wedding ring using the Quilt in the Day originally. So that's why there's already drying on here. But I did note on the package there are 3 yards of this, and I got 55 arcs on that 3 yards. Cutting these apart is way easier than leaving them as a sheet. I don't know what kind of pin this was that I was using right then, but it was an awful choice. It was an awful choice because, one, it came off of all over my hands. 2, I thought if it comes off so easily, I should probably chuck it in water, and it just came right off in the water. So I rinsed all of these that I did off and redid them. You could use a pencil. You could even use a pen, that felt tip black pen, I think. You have to be sure to turn those edges under real good so you don't see the line in case you sew, you know, just the other side of it or whatever. So be very careful on your choice of writing utensil. And there was a quick picture on my phone where you can see I was actually timing this. And I was taking my time. I am sitting in my recliner with a table in front of me doing this. Once all that prep is done, the sewing and turning is a breeze. Literally 4 arcs took me 4 minutes. I'm going to leave this in real time so you can see how slow I am. I'm sorry for wasting 4 minutes of your life. So if it's approximately 1 minute per arc to sew, you'll have all 68 done in a little over an hour of sewing. You just sit and chain sew. And I was even being kind of picky. I did this for 30 minutes to make sure it was pretty consistent, even with my pickiness, because I did not have them shuffled enough. So let's see, what was the other math? To make an actual double wedding ring quilt was going to take 98 arcs. How large was that one going to be? A little bit under 60 by 72 inches is what that one was going to be. So those would have only taken hour 45 minutes. That's fun math. I like to know the math for things. I'm starting by sewing these two together at a time, right sides together. You can tell the long side of each is at the one is at the top, and the bottom is at the bottom on each, if that made sense. You can see what I'm doing. So since it's only 3 pieces for this arc, I'm sewing 2 together and then going back and just adding the 1. So there's chain piecing. So if you wanted to count out enough to do 68 arcs, or keep track and do 68 of 2 at a time like that, 2 by 1 by 1, I don't know what to call it. Anyway, if you wanted to do that and then just go back and add the 1 to all of them chain piecing, that would probably be pretty fast. I was just trying it with my arc at this point and seeing how long it took me to do 4. So I wasn't trying to do them all. Besides that, remember I cut for a full, probably a throw size double wedding ring originally. Which now I don't need, so I'll have leftovers when I finally do the double wedding ring. I hope breaking this down in steps is helpful to you guys, and if you're going to do it with me, or if you're going to do another one and without me, that's fine too. I just, for my brain, for, you know, the orderly process it needs, this is working great. Just a little at a time. I'm not in a rush to do this, but I don't think it's going to take very long now that I've gotten everything cut. Let me know if you're doing it too, and I will keep you up to date on my progress. Now that we've got the arc sewn, we could add our fusible interface. And remember, the bumpy side goes down. The fusible is the bumpy side. It goes toward the pretty side of your fabrics, and you just need 1/8 around them. So it's a tight fit, but it fits, and it's more fabric efficient friendly. I think I'm okay with doing 4, which is 1 square. I tried to shuffle my fabrics up. You can see I have a whole stack of these. And we want that side up. That needs more to. Okay. There we go. Like I said, the very corners aren't going to matter because we're cutting that off. We need to be able to turn this, and that's all I'm worried about. If you have 1/8, you have enough. See, that's just, I'm touching right here, and I have just 1/8 up here. That's enough. If you want to make them bigger, you can do that by using, these are 2.5 inches, so you could use 3 inches and just make sure you keep the angle the same. And clearly that's my sewing because it's not that way on a hook. Let's see, can you see that? Yeah, you can. That's all you need. 1/8 to 1/2 inch right there, that's all you need. Yes, I must torture myself. But I'm only putting 1 in each. Spoiler alert, that was a bad choice. Use 3. And you could get a whole stack of these done before you come over. I'm just doing this for demonstration purposes. I'm going to double check, make sure the bumpy side is facing the pretty side of the fabric. My plan is to sew all of my arcs and then take them over to my cutting / ironing table in front of my chair, sit comfortably, and pin them all. I'm apologizing now for the abrupt ending in 10 seconds or less. I was looking outside. I missed that. Okay, you can see that. At the ends, it comes off. It's okay. Thanks for watching. Thanks for checking out my channel. I appreciate it. I appreciate your time. Have a good day. Have a good week. And I'll try to get another video up next week. Be the light you hope to see in others, and don't punch people. It's just not okay.